Hello and welcome back to the Joyful Soul Creates. Charlotte here, and today I'm sharing a couple of shaped superhero cards that I made for Skull and Cross Buns. I actually made these in, I think it must have been September last year, and I just never got around to finishing the video and sharing them, so I decided I will do that today. You may have noticed I haven't been around on YouTube for ages now. I haven't been well, so I'm a bit out of practice of doing voiceovers, but hopefully you'll bear with me and this will be okay. In any case, I'm starting out by ink blending the background for one of my cards. I'm using the Leopard print stencil from Skull and Cross Buns. All the products I'm using are from Skull and Cross Buns unless I say otherwise. So I'm ink blending that with tea dye distress ink and an ink blending brush, which is actually a makeup brush. And I've chosen a kind of very pale brown tan coloured card base. As you can see, I've taped the stencil in place at the top, and I also masked off the edge of my card, so I'm not going to go onto the back of my card because otherwise I would probably end up doing that. Taping off just the top of the stencil means that I can lift it up and check the stenciling underneath to make sure I'm happy with it before I finish, so I don't have to remove it and then realise, oh, I missed a spot and have to go and redo it. My other card is going to be a mermaid design card, so I have this mermaid scale stencil, and I'm using 3 different colours of Distress Oxide for this. I actually looked up mermaid designs on Pinterest to get the ideas for the colours for this. So I'm starting with a purple card base. I start with cracked pistachio at the top of the card, and once I'm happy with that, I actually moved on to the bottom third next, rather than working in order from top to bottom. And I did make sure to switch brushes. You could clean your brush off in between and use the same brush, but I just thought it would be quicker and easier if I needed to go back to one of the other colours. It would be quicker and easier just to have a different brush for each colour. This did mean I was left with a really tiny brush for this bottom pink portion, which slows the process down a little bit. It's not a huge problem, but of course when you're covering a large area, a larger brush will do that quicker. So I'm just going to blend that bottom third with Worn Lipstick Distress Oxide. I'm then going to swap brushes again, and this time I'm using Tumbled glass, which is a nice light blue. And here again I have a really tiny brush, but it's okay. This one's quite narrow, so it's good for fine detail, but it's what I had on hand, so it's what I used. And it did take me longer, as I said, but it's no problem. And the reason I did the pink and the green first is that now I can overlap each of them slightly with that blue. I could have done the blue overlapping the green and then done the pink and overlapped the blue, but for whatever reason I decided to do it this way and it worked. Do your ink blending however you prefer, it's up to you of course. I am by no means an expert ink blender, but it's fun. Have fun with it, that's the most important thing. And you can see it kind of mixes to make a pretty purple colour where the pink and the blue overlap. And it will make a kind of aqua colour where the blue and the green overlap. And again, as I did with the leopard print stencil, every now and then I will lift it up slightly, just have a look at how it's going and check how the ink blending looks without the stencil there. I think it's clearer when you lift the stencil, gives you a better idea of what it's going to look like when it's done. Okay, and once I'd finished all the ink blending, I decided I would spritz this one with some water mixed with a little Perfect Pearls, just to add some shimmer and shine, because mermaids should be shimmery. At least I think they should. Do you think they should be shimmery? If you think they should not be shimmery, why not let me know that in the comments below, and I will know next time not to make them shimmery. So I'm just mixing a tiny bit of Perfect Pearls into my spray bottle, put the lid on tightly, shake it up, and then I will spritz that onto my stencil. I did leave the stencil in place for this, and I want quite a light misting. So I'm spritzing from quite high up, although I do also do quite a lot of coverage there actually. I then let it sit for a little. I did cut that bit out so it looks like I did it instantly, but I did let it sit for a little while for it to activate the ink. And then I pressed a piece of paper towel into it to pick it up, and you can see it leaves a pretty impression on that paper towel. And I'm going to dab over it as well. You don't want to rub because you might mix the colours and kind of make them blur or bleed, but just dabbing at it is fine. And here you can see how that looks. So with both of our card bases ready, we're going to move on to shaping them. And I'm sure there are some lovely dies out there which will cut this out for you, but I do not have such dies. So instead I created a little template. As you can see, there's a crease down the middle because I wanted to make sure it was symmetrical. So I folded my piece of paper in half, then cut the one side, and then when I opened it up, it would be symmetrical. I hope that's clear, but you can see the template on the screen, so you should be able to work it out if my explanation doesn't make sense. I then used various scraps of tape to hold it onto my card base and then carefully cut around it, which, being a double layer of card base, is not the easiest because it's quite thick. It did take me a little while to do this because I was trying to keep it neat and clean and carefully tidy, which I am not the best at. You should see the state of my craft room sometimes. I am not the tidiest person, but I do try. And here we go, we'll cut off just that last little bit and take those scraps away. You could keep the bigger scraps if you want for something. I'll skip cutting out the other one because it's the exact same thing. You don't need to see it twice. I did decide I wanted to add some shadowing under the bust of my superhero outfits, so I cut some vellum. I actually originally was planning to add the vellum as like an overlay because I thought it needed something, but I didn't like the way it looked, so rather than scrapping that vellum, I kept it and I used it as my mask or template or stencil, whatever, to add this shading below the bust to add definition. And I'm using, again, a very small ink blending brush, and this is Catherine Pooler's Twilight ink, which is a grey ink, and there you go, it just adds a little bit of definition there. Nothing too intense, but just a little bit of very subtle definition. And I will repeat the process of that on my mermaid design. And again, you don't need to see this twice, so let's skip ahead a bit. And here you can see how they both look finished up. I think it's a bit more obvious on the mermaid design. I'm not sure if I put more of the grey ink on there or if it's just the nature of the backgrounds. I have no idea. At this point, I had decided I was not happy with the shape of the top of these outfits. So I went through my die set until I found a circle die that would match that curvature, and it also had stitching on it, which I thought looked good, so I did die cut the top of both of the cards. Obviously you don't have to do that, especially if your cutting out is neater than mine, then it shouldn't be a problem, but I did find it tidied it up and I was happier with the way it looked then. I also used the circle dies on the bottom of the outfit to make those neater as well. And then I apparently forgot to turn my camera on for finishing off these cards, but in any case I stamped Crafting is My Superpower from the stamp set of the same name onto both of the outfits, and I decided they needed a slight embellishment as well, so I die cut a couple of stars, and that completes my superhero shaped cards. This is a design team project for Skull and Cross Buns, and there are links in the description box below to all the products used. If you enjoyed this video, please do let me know by liking and leaving a comment. You can tell me which of the cards you preferred. Other than that, I'll thank you very much for watching. Have a great week. I hope you're having a lovely weekend, and I will see you again next time. Bye!